Hi. Welcome to the third episode of our Africa Desk Talks, dedicated to Morocco. Our speaker today is Christian Steiner, partner of Mid-East law firm, interviewed by Roberto Luzzi Crivellini. In this episode, they'll discuss how to set up a company in Morocco, explain the main steps of the process of incorporation, and share some practical advice on managing the subsidiary of a foreign company in Morocco. Make sure you follow Legalmondo on LinkedIn and YouTube to stay updated on the next episodes of our Africa Desk.
Hi, good morning, Christian and Sophie. This is the third episode of our chats on Africa at the Africa Desk of Legalmondo. And today we're talking about Morocco and starting from how to set up a company in Morocco. So, Christian, how difficult is it? What's the process? Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, hi Roberto, and thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to share some ideas on this. Setting up a company in Morocco is pretty straightforward. And in theory, let's say in theory, you can do it in 1 or 2 weeks. But unfortunately, due to legalization's requirements, it can take longer. So if the foreign shareholder is not in the country and cannot come into the country even once, we can still do it, but it will take more time depending on what legalization requirements are applicable in the respective country. In the case of Germany, it is quite complicated because Germany has not accepted the apostille for Morocco. But in other countries, it's not so complicated because they have accepted the apostille, and Morocco is also part of the apostille convention. So a legalization doesn't usually take more than a notarization at a public notary in the respective country. So and the process is pretty straightforward, like you would know it in other countries. You reserve a name for your company, and then you draft the articles. You bring the necessary documentation, which is the ID of the shareholder or shareholders, and if that is a legal person, obviously that would be extract from the commercial register and the articles of association. Those need to be provided at least in French language and legalized copies, and then those will be provided to the registration authorities. We will work on the articles. Sometimes it is advisable to have a shareholder agreement on the side between the parties, depending on how complicated the setup is. And then once we have everything together, we will hand in the documentation, registration with the tax authorities, with the commercial register, social security, and that's it. One point that I would like to mention, or 2 points actually, which are sometimes forgotten, is you need a registered address, which can be either your property or something you rent. But you need to prove that it is really there, that you're renting it. You cannot simply say, well, this is the place of my friend or my business partner. No, you need a lease agreement. Or you can do a so-called domiciliation, which is there are certain companies that provide registered office services. And they can provide you with an address where you can receive a documentation, where you can receive your correspondence, and they will forward it to you. But anyhow, this can also serve as a registered address. And the other point is the banks. There we are experiencing sometimes some issues because, as in other places, banks need to take care of money laundering and other regulations, and so they want to know exactly who is the ultimate beneficial owner. They want all the documents also legalized and in the correct form, and that is sometimes taking even more time than the actual setup of the company.
Yeah, meaning how long should I expect to?
We have set up companies in 2 weeks, and sometimes it takes longer, but it's usually because the client has their internal processes for approving the articles of association, getting the signatures done, and legalizing the signature. So that let's say we cannot say this is an issue for Morocco. If you have all the documents, it's pretty fast, but you have to get the documents in the right form, and that is usually up to the client to organize themselves.
Okay, so let's say 2-3 weeks, starting from the moment when you get all the documents you need in the right.
And it helps if you come to the country. It helps because then you can simply sign it there and legalize it there, which is a matter of 15 minutes.
Okay.
And you can even do what we often recommend our clients. You can even deposit your signature with it's not a notary public. It's a public official who keeps signatures, and that will allow, with a registration number that you have for the signature. For instance, if we are asked to assist, we will have that registration number, and we receive the original signed, let's say in France or in Italy. We will receive it in Morocco, take it to this place, and there the public official will say, okay, yeah, indeed, this is the signature of the person who deposited his signature or her signature with us. And that can also speed up things a lot, especially if something comes up later where you need a signature and the shareholder or the manager cannot travel. So we can speed that up in that manner also.
Okay, how about shareholding? Are there limitations for wholly owned companies and management of those companies? So can directors be foreigners, or do they need to be local
Yeah.
residents, and so on and so forth?
No, in that aspect, Morocco is probably the most liberal economy in the region. You don't need to be a local, you don't need to be Moroccan to be shareholder, you don't need to be Moroccan to be manager of the company, and you don't even need to have your residence in Morocco for a shareholder, which is obvious, but not for the manager either. So you can basically set up a company and manage a company from abroad in Morocco. There are no limitations like in other countries where certain businesses are only allowed to be held 49% by foreigners. So there is no limitation on that. The only limitation that you will find is that foreigners cannot buy agricultural land. That is not possible, but you can rent that land, long-term leases of 99 years. So basically, that's not an issue either. That said, of course, it is often very useful to have a local partner, a local manager in place who knows Morocco, who knows the business environment in Morocco, who has his own networks and contacts. I mean, it is one thing that formally you're not required to be a local or to live in Morocco, but obviously it is very advisable to have somebody on the ground who speaks the languages and who knows the place.
Okay. How about rep offices as the first step into the market? Is it a format that is frequently used? Is it effective or not before you actually set up your own company there?
Yeah. The possibility exists to set up a representative office, but from our experience, it is not often used. People usually set up immediately a branch or a subsidiary, but you can do it.
Okay. See. Again, based on your experience, Christian and Sophie, what are the main, if you had to mention, mistakes that foreign companies tend to make when they operate in the Moroccan market, and what are the main lessons that can be drawn from those mistakes?
Yeah, for those of you who have already seen our interview on the MENA region, we actually mentioned some of those issues in that interview. I will mention them again for the particular context of Morocco. I mean, there is on the one hand, there is the foreign exchange regulation, which you need to take care of. Whenever you bring money into the country, you have to register this money, this investment, with the Office de Change, which is the foreign exchange body responsible for controlling the foreign exchange in Morocco. So whenever you wire money from Morocco abroad, this authority will be involved. And if you can show this authority that you brought in money, which produces dividends, then you will not have an issue. If you cannot show that, you will have an issue. And in the worst case, it takes you 5 years to take out the money. Right?
Yeah.
So this is something that is often forgotten. People do wire the money, they don't take care of the registration, and then later on you have a time period of 6 months to register. But if you don't do that, you will have issues later on. We actually encounter this quite often in practice because people are not aware of these limitations. Sophia, I don't know if you have any issue to add there. Regarding maybe the point of expecting the Wild West in Morocco. I don't know if you would like to add on that. Otherwise, I can explain that.
Yeah, actually, it just came to my mind also that maybe it is underestimated how high the requirements towards documents are. So often it is not just a copy of one document that would be sufficient, but you would need several copies. Sometimes it is even necessary to print them both-sided and not on 2 different pieces of paper. You need them signed, you need them legalized, and you need them stamped with the right administration. Sometimes it is even important where the stamp is, and it is sometimes it is difficult to explain to our clients that these things are actually important, because it is not often the case. Maybe a bit more in Germany than in other countries in Europe, but it is complicated to explain this because we are running towards a digitalized society, so it is complicated to explain this.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that comes to my mind. Another thing is also court procedures. They are not exactly like we are used to them in Europe, because we have several appointments that are needed. Lawyers have to go there. They cannot be replaced by someone else, but it is actually not a real lawyer's work in the court proceeding, because they are just handing in their conclusions and handing them to the judge. So we're sort of losing a lot of time with traveling to courts with our lawyers, but clients don't see these things that happen behind the scenes, because we need to travel a lot. We need to go to these appointments, and nothing really is being said during these appointments. It is literally just handing in conclusions, and the judge will make his decision based on these conclusions, of course, that we as lawyers write. But there is no real negotiation or talk happening before the courts.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. It brings to my mind a memory from a few years back when we had a joint venture agreement blocked in an office in the south of China because all the papers were signed in blue color with a blue pen instead of black pen, or the other way around. I don't remember. So yes, indeed,
Yeah.
very important. So maybe the last comment, picking up on Sophie's remark, is how to manage disputes or prevent disputes in the most effective manner. So, what is the best, for instance, dispute resolution mechanism that you would advise for foreign companies operating in the area, whether it's for a shareholders agreement or for a commercial contract and so on and so forth? So how to navigate the judicial system, and what's the best way to do it based on your experience?
Well, of course, there are courts. There are even commercial courts in Morocco, and they usually do a good job. So we cannot say that it is not advisable to entrust the Moroccan courts with resolving disputes. But one has to say that let's say it can be faster and it can be more reliable to have arbitration in place. And there are local arbitration institutions, but you can equally recur to CCI, the International Chamber of Commerce, Paris, and you can have it seated in Casablanca or in Morocco. As you know, it's simply the question is what regulations apply, what rules apply on the proceedings, and you would want a arbitration institution, a recognized, well-working arbitration institution in place that organizes the arbitration. And even if it's abroad, an international arbitral award can be enforced in Morocco. So that is obviously a step where you will be subjected to the local courts. So you cannot avoid it completely. If you have a foreign arbitration award, a local court is to say, yes, indeed, this is a valid arbitration award, which I declare enforceable in Morocco. And at that point, if the counterpart is ill-intended, they will also try to hold the enforcement. And of course, like in any other country, a contractual partner who is not happy with a judgment or with an award will always try everything within his means to prevent or to delay the enforcement of a judgment. And that also happens in Morocco. And you just have to follow through. You will have to be patient sometimes and be well advised and well represented. And then ultimately, we are succeeding, but in some cases, it is difficult.
Okay, thanks a lot. So this is a good place where we can wrap up our talk. I will provide the link to further information and details in the notes of this talk. And so thanks a lot. It was very interesting. And I'll see you soon, Christian and Sophie. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Roberto. Bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.